What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to check out the HGLRC WIND5 LITE. This little guy is set up with TBS Crossfire. It has some DJI Caddx Vista on here with the Nebula camera. We're going to check that out in the view. It's a little bit close to twilight right now, so it's going to look a little different in the air. And I have to say, my impression of this on 6S for freestyle, it's pretty locked in. The tune on here is very smooth. I don't see any vibes. It is a really well tuned from the factory flight controller, and I'm not surprised from HGLRC. So we do have some sort of crossbars in the front, back and front here, so it can double as a race quad in my opinion. I think it would do good around the course. It is extremely fast, and you can also play around with some long range with it with your TBS Crossfire on there. So we've got Tango 2 all set up, ready to go with the WIND5 LITE, guys. Let's get this one out there. WIND5 LITE Edition. Here we go. Alright guys, welcome back to the shop. Let's go ahead and break down the WIND5 LITE versus the analog version that came out a while back. Just the standard WIND5 is 230 millimeters with the f7 on board. This one is a true X with front and back crossbars, which is nice for racing. So this one might be kind of like a hybrid race quad slash freestyle slash medium range quad. But the thing about this one is that it does not have GPS on the back there. So if you're sending this one up the mountain, kind of do it the old school way. The guys just, set up some crossfire and go for it. You can do it like that. If you fail safe, you're going to have maybe a hike up the mountain. But the good news is that you can really see better where you're going with these DJI systems. So if you guys don't have DJI goggles yet, absolutely save up your pennies for those, because they're so worth the money. That's all I've wanted to fly this year. These companies keep sending me the DJI version, so I'm happy for that. But this one's all set up with Caddx Vista Nebula on the front, and it is a smaller camera, and I think they were trying to save a little bit of weight for the race guys. But since this one is flying on 6S, this would easily be a race candidate in multi-GP. It has plenty of TPU protection, camera protection up front. It is kind of a locked-in camera position up here, so really you can't make it go down any further than that. And that looks like it's about 30 degrees of tilt right there. So you could probably cut it out if you're a beginner and you're looking to have a 6S version of a quad. This would be a quad like after you've had, say, your first 3-inch or so. When you move up to 6S, it has a lot of power and it can be super dangerous. So if you guys are having your first 6S experience, be careful when you plug these in. You don't want this thing to bite you on the hand. A lot of power in these motors. And speaking of the motors, we have the AOLIS motors from HGLRC. These series motors, they are really premium. They are very nice. We have gold hardware on the bottom here, 3-bolt configuration, gold motor stand, bell with printed graphics, and this is a 2207.5 1750 kV motor. And man, just look at that. Is that a nice looking motor? That is a nice looking motor, you guys. Standard bolt on top. We've got some gem fan props here, and you get two sets of those in the box. Those are 5146 gem fan Kebab FPV designed racing or freestyle props. So they're a fairly narrow cord in the middle and sort of a smooth taper. And the characteristic of this prop is that when you do spool up for the first time, you notice that this quad sounds really, really smooth and quiet when you get it up into a hover. And I'm expecting on the 1050 battery like 7 to 8 minutes flight time if you're cruising. Now if you're ripping freestyle, you're going to probably get about 6 minutes flight time, but there's a huge advantage of flying 6S. If you're going to use it for medium range, you can throw a little larger battery on this bottom mount down here, and you can really get some extra range because the strap that they give you will accommodate a giant size battery. I mean, if you could somehow fly a Lion on this, you have tons of battery strap room here. So I think that's a big positive from HGLRC, giving us a huge strap there. We've got a 20 by 20 mount underneath here, and those ESCs are 20 by 20. They go up to the flight controller mounted Caddx Vista Nebula system here with a button there that you have to bind up to your goggles, and you'll have to use this USB-C port right here to be able to activate this. And then once you activate it, you need to update it to the latest firmware, which is going to be that 50 megabit firmware update. And since that came out, you guys, I haven't even been using the actual GoPro on top or any type of air module DVR because I feel like I don't need it because it looks so good. I only had a few instances of breakup. If you go back and look at that video, there was some breakup where it had some good trees between me and the quad, some shrubs and things like that. Really thick cover will sort of cause it to like kind of pixelize out and pixelate, but other than that, it's pretty solid. Even down that long road that I went on, it was still doing pretty good. And by the way, this is an F7. It is an F722, and we're rocking some 45 amp BL Heli ESCs on here for 4 to 6S. And some guys ask me like, well, can I fly 4S on a 6S quad? You can. You're not going to get a whole ton of power. It's just it's gonna fly actually pretty decent. You probably could do a mild amount of freestyle, but where you're really going to have a good time is on 6S. So you can start out, if you're a beginner, start out on 4S on this guy and then move up to a 6S battery. Now speaking of GPS though, if you guys are going to send it, I would really probably rather recommend something like this from HGLRC. This is the Sector 5 with GPS on the back and Crossfire and all the bells and whistles here, but this is an analog setup. It has an F7 on board as well, and I believe these were around 45 amp to 50 amp ESCs, and they have AOLIS motors on this one as well in that red sort of theme, 2306.5 1900 kV motors. Red bottoms on those, and this quad is built thicker, it's heavier, and it's really made to survive like a mountain crash. It's quite a bit bigger and beastier than the WIND5 LITE. So this one's been obviously lightened up for racing and I think that is its main purpose here. And another reason why this is a dedicated race style quad is the fact that it does have a shorty antenna back here. This is the left-hand circular polarized hammer antenna from HGLRC. They also have these extra posts here, but let's go ahead and put this guy on the scale and let me show you what the WIND5 LITE weighs. Okay, so the quad itself without the battery, it weighs in at 330.1. It's just moving just a little bit on the bench. That's actually a pretty competitive race weight. You definitely want as light of a race quad as you can possibly make it. Now with the 6S 1050, that's going to get us up to 470.1, right on the money. So when you add a GoPro on there, it's obviously going to get you maybe above 500. So there you have it. The WIND5 LITE is it has a lot going on for it, and I think it's up to par with anything that like Caddx is making right now as far as your reliability factor, the quality of the carbon used here. It's very similar to my Catalyst America that I flew a couple years ago. So some of these companies are catching up with those sort of custom design type companies, and HGLRC motors have come a long ways, and now in 2020 we're really benefiting from that, all that experimentation. They've made micro size motors and race motors for years. So I think that as far as a medium range cruiser too, if you want to do that, it will do that. And it looks like it'll take a beating as far as if you crashed it out there and you had to go pick it up. And one other thing that I need to definitely mention in this review is the fact that this is the V2 Nebula. So the V2 Nebula, I talked about it on a review a while back. That V2 is way better than the V1. It has much better light adjustments, and the sky is not as blown out. And you kind of saw that on the twilight flying that I was doing. And I got to tell you, when you're flying on these DJI systems close to dark, they do brighten up everything so much that when you come in and land and you take off your goggles, it's kind of funny because I'm like, wow, it's actually a lot darker outside my goggles than it is inside the goggles. So DJI system getting close to twilight, it'll really get you back home. You'll really be able to see where you're going, even if you're flying around some canopy still. So if you're looking for GPS, grab a Sector 5 with GPS. This one is going to probably, I think this one was a little more expensive, but when you outfit this one with the Crossfire Nano RX, what I have on here, it's going to get you closer to $400. The analog versions of them right now, I'll just double check for you guys. It's probably around the $200 price point. Yeah, $259 for the analog version 6S, and I think they have a 4S version. They have it listed twice on the Banggood website for this version, which is interesting. I'll have to double check those links for you guys, but they both say 6S. I don't know what's going on with Banggood. Maybe there's something different there. It could be a Caddx camera without the Nebula on there, the full-size Caddx, bigger camera, but again, I'll have to double check on that for you. But we're all done here, guys. I hope you enjoyed my flight test with this one, and I'm happy it came back in one piece because this is an extremely nice quad and it's decent quality, guys. I think it's worth the money. It's a really hot looking quad. But thanks again for watching, guys. I'm Justin Davis. Take care, everybody, and be safe out there, and happy holidays and all that good stuff. My holiday is just a little happier with the WIND5 LITE here in my hands. Take care. We'll see you on the next one.